Dispatch. Oh, okay, it's coming. Thank you, Madam Speaker, for this opportunity to also make my contribution to this report by our Committee on Delegated Legislation. Madam Speaker, I begin a troubled man because I've never had so much misinformation, and perhaps I don't know whether that is a place to comment, but I'll lose my trail of thoughts if I comment there. Therefore, I want to first stick to the substance of the report that is before us. Then maybe later, if I get an opportunity, I will direct my colleagues to where to get the correct information about many of the things which they said, which is information that is publicly available if you were to seek the right information. But you never know why people will choose to get the wrong one. Madam Speaker, I'm troubled because if you read this report, it is clearly brought out to us that these regulations are already approved by this House. So I don't know why delegated legislation will want us to debate them. Because you have told us in paragraph, let me just read the correct paragraph, Senator Mofire. Then perhaps you can guide me on what I need to do with my submissions. Paragraph 3 of your introduction, that the regulations were published on the 9th of July 2025, and thereafter they were received by the Senate for tabling on 11th July 2025, which time was within the 7-day sitting of a referral of an instrument to Parliament as stipulated within Section 11. Then, paragraph 4, you remind us that therefore these regulations were laid on the 16th.
Order, Senator Omtata, this is not your house. Why are you crossing the manner? Thank you. Thank you.
I don't want to be disrupted by Senator Omtata. And so, regulation, paragraph 4 of that introduction, Mofire, your committee is telling us that after the 16th of July, in accordance with Section 59 of the Affordable Housing Act, number 2 of 2025, to be approved or rejected by Senate within 15 days of sitting. This is a law that we passed here. And we said that within 15 days of sitting, of receipt by the Senate, which days are set to lapse on the 11th of September 2025. Today, Madam Speaker, is the 25th, meaning that on the 11th, whether with a vote or without, we already passed these regulations. Therefore, what we are doing is just a conversation about what we think about housing. No wonder so many political statements are just being made. Because it has nothing to do with the report, whether we reject. In fact, I hope that there is no intention to take this to a vote. Because, Madam Speaker, eventually, you are taking it to a vote so that what happens? This report is already approved. And that is where we need to begin, because our committee chairpersons, the reason why you have a liaison committee is where there are emergencies such as this, where we have passed laws that have set timelines on ourselves. Like this law, we passed it here ourselves. And we said within 15 days of regulations, 15 sitting days, not just calendar days, sitting days, regulations such as this will stand approved. I expected a diligent committee would have led us to either consider those regulations or, at the very least, then bring a motion for extension of time. Though I'm not sure whether even that will stand, because at the end of the day, you can't pass a motion to amend statute which you've already put into law. It's very unfortunate, Madam Speaker, that we never got opportunity. Secondly, Madam Speaker, I'd wish to say that these regulations don't meet or serve the purpose for which they were intended to. I'd wish that when you have a matter as important as this, that our committees would lead us as a House to be alive to present issues, because housing is a very important project. Every political formation that I know, at least those that are worth their salt, had housing as a manifesto item, both the Azimio and the Kenya Kwanza. And not just in this election. From as early as 2002, if you read the NAC manifesto, housing was proposed there. Therefore, this is not just a simple exercise of passing regulations and saying, you go and do as you wish. It is in matters such as this that I expect of our committees, when you're implementing programs that are of high importance to the people that we represent, that you lead us into a conversation. From what I know from history, Madam Speaker, many times back in the day when you consider the formulas, when you considered, I can't recall immediately off the top of my mind, other important things, where committees have actually led us into a sitting in this house with the committee of the whole and told us that, good people, ladies and gentlemen, here is a proposal that has come from the executive. What are your thoughts about it? It's not just something that you tuck yourself away as a committee, consider them, and come back to us. You're not bound by regulation, but it's the moral, it's the diligent thing to do, because each of us, in one way or the other, is affected by this program. There are many questions that I have about this program, Madam Speaker. I want to know, Madam Speaker, for example, I would expect that by the time the Cabinet Secretary and the PS and the State Department and this board that is being set up come to us, that at least I'd have a report that since I passed this law 1 year ago and have been paying diligently, Madam Speaker, how many of those units have been built in each and every part of this country? Because I have to register a complaint as Senator for Kericho, for example, that all I can see are hardly 300-400 units that are not even ready. And I see occasionally here in Nairobi, thousands of houses. I don't know in which part of the country. Are we citizens? Are we children of a lesser God? Madam Speaker, I wanted to have that conversation here with the people that are running this program to know why certain counties will be at 70-80% completion of projects while others are still 20-30%. I just passed by, for example, where this project is being implemented in Kericho town. I think they are building only 400 houses in a county of a population of more than 1 million people, many of whom understand the importance of this project, Madam Speaker, and I'm glad because there are people who are saying in their parts of the country they don't need the houses. It will be important that you put it on record and donate to us who are in need. Our land is high-value agriculture land, and many people continue to build houses on that land. I would be more than happy if I centralize my people in one place so that I remain with land to secure their food and farming, Madam Speaker. Therefore, needs vary. There are those who consider this, that it is not useful to the people that they represent in this house. I wish, Madam Speaker, that we would get that opportunity so that we give a commitment, including in writing, and say, please, the request of my constituents is that we think we can uptake 10, 20, 30, 40, 50,000. Then others can write and say, we don't need these things. Take it elsewhere. Madam Speaker, the implementation of this program has not been as transparent in terms of allocation of units that are being built across the country as we expected when we passed these regulations. Madam Speaker, and I say this with a heavy heart, because I know if you raise this conversation, many people will tell you, oh, you know, in your place, we don't have land to do this, and things such as those, Madam Speaker. But where is the engagement? Where is the diligence on the public officers that are running this program, that have gone to engage our county governments and said, provide for us alternative land? You may not have land where you're looking for, but at least I know every county government has land where they could point out and say, this is a good place where you set up this particular land. It's unfortunate, Madam Speaker, that as we speak here today, you drive down in certain counties, they are perhaps now doing their 20, 30,000 unit. Some of us are at 400, 500 units, Madam Speaker. That is the expectation that I had of this committee, that at least they will provide for me an opportunity to look back and say 1 year down the line, after we pass these regulations, this law, Madam Speaker, what has been the implementation process? I would have expected a blow-by-blow justification of each regulation to understand the empirical calculation, Madam Speaker, for example, on this very important proposal that is being made to provide affordable credit to those that want to purchase the housing units but don't have the 5% deposit, Madam Speaker. I'd wish to know what is the consideration in terms of the proposal that we are being given, 3% for those that earn less than 20,000, persons earning below 20,000, 6% for those that earn between 20,000 and 140, and 9% for those that earn above 140,000, Madam Speaker. Sorry, I note the change of Speaker. It's now Mr. Speaker. the senator for Bomet, or is it Sigor? I know Sigor is part of Bomet. Mr. Speaker, I would have expected that this State Department takes us through blow by blow on the request that they have. Kenyans that have come to them and have said, we'd wish to purchase these housing units. However, the much I can raise is X amount. Therefore, allow me to borrow up to this amount, Mr. Speaker, and therefore this regulation is being provided. I would have wished to know. This issue of allocation has been canvassed, and I wish my whip was here, Senator Boni Alwale, because I've heard him say, and I think another senator also who's contributed has said the same, that there is some houses that were allocated to footballers. I don't know which footballers they are talking about. Why do people react to social media conversations? I expect of you as a legislator, not just a whip, at the very least as a legislator, to go into details sometimes and understand things beyond the conversations that happen in our newspapers. I listened to the President keenly when he was addressing the Harambee Stars players. And he told them, out of the windfall that you have gotten out of your wins, I am willing to top up something for you so that you pay the deposits. So I don't know where this conversation about donations that are being done. It's not possible to donate a house. I wish my whip was here so that I educate him a bit. I am afraid that sometimes he gets the wrong information from social media and runs to Parliament to speak about it. I listened to the teachers. I met my teachers from Kericho when they left State House that day. And they were so happy because they were castigating me as their representative, and they are saying, Senator, how comes you've never told us how we can purchase these units? At least today, we have been explained to how we purchase these units, because as people that lead in contribution, despite the very humble, meager income of teachers, and I say this with a lot of pride because I was raised by a teacher. My mother was a teacher. And therefore, I know what a dent to her payslip would have meant. It would have expected that at least she and her family will benefit. And that is a conversation that the teachers had at State House that day, because I listened to them say of the President, can you at least, now that we have accepted and you are part of the people that are funding this program, can we be prioritized so that even if I don't pay for those that are nearing retirement, my family can carry on and have a housing unit? There is justification for this, Mr. Speaker. If you follow the UN Habitat statistics, they point out quite clearly that by 2050, just a quarter of a century from now, 60% of the entire population of the earth will be living in urban areas. If we don't plan for the future, where do we want our people to live? There's good justification for this. Therefore, there is no conversation about whether this is important. I believe every knowledgeable person appreciates the place and the need for these housing units, Madam Speaker. It broke my heart listening to young people from Kibera the day we went to sign the bill, the affordable housing bill in State House. And they said, I think it was a community mobilizer, Mr. Speaker, I don't know if you're there. He said that part of the reason why they want these housing units now is because young kids grow up, and by the age of 2 or 3, you cannot even teach them about sex because they see it in their homes. They live in one-roomed house and says, please give us some decency. There is good justification for a program such as this. The only problem that I take out of all these regulations is that the questions that are being raised by our colleagues on this floor, I have to say, many of them, Mr. Speaker, are extremely genuine, and there is good justification for them as representatives of the people to have sufficient answers. Yet that opportunity hasn't been provided. I don't know this constitutional order that we got ourselves into, Mr. Speaker, that is neither parliamentary, neither can you call it fully presidential, because you have people here that you are told they are committee chairpersons, therefore sometimes they speak and answer as if they are government. And there are those on the minority side which sometimes you confuse and say that they are in the opposition, because to the best of my knowledge, there is no opposition in government in Parliament. It is majority and minority. Mr. Speaker, the distinction of what the Constitution appreciates is that there is an executive and legislature. The question that has never been answered to me up to date, what is the nexus between the executive and the legislature in terms of policy appreciation, policy critiquing. After we have passed a law such as this, and it has been operational for 1 year, where is the opportunity beyond the question and statements time that we sometimes get here with ministers? Where is the opportunity for me to critique and say, okay, we gave you a law, how have you implemented it? My constituents are saying this and that. I don't believe, Mr. Speaker, that it was the intention of the drafters of our constitution for us to exist as silos, that we can never interact, that we can never provide good, credible feedback to the executive, Mr. Speaker, on programs such as this. I want an opportunity to sit down with CS Alice Wahome, with PS Hinga, and give my thoughts about what my constituents are saying about this program. It's not just the absence. It includes things such as location, Madam Speaker. It is also important, I must record the appreciation, by the way, that there are diligent colleagues who follow these things, but unfortunately, it's not everybody that can do that. When it was first rumored that the approximate cost of a housing unit, I don't know what amount. I remember one of my colleagues here telling me that this is almost 10,000 shillings higher than what other private entities. I think it was Senator Chute, actually. Yeah, thank you for being reminded about that. And we went with him, we drove all the way to Mombasa Road, compared, and we shared that feedback with the PS and said, you must review your rates, because at least people such as Edoman, that gentleman that is building on, what is it called, Great Wall, has bought the land. For you, you have not bought any land. Most of the land that these housing units are being built on is public land. Therefore, it should be cheaper. So I want an opportunity to ask the executive, what is the approximate cost of what it takes you to buy this unit? No, to build this unit. I also want to know, what are the benefits of the economies of scale? If you're buying cement in thousands, because you've been given an opportunity to supply into a public program, therefore there are benefits to the economies of scale. That was my expectation. We were told that when this program comes, many young people will get an opportunity to supply door frames, to set up carpentry sites. I don't see those things happening in my county, Mr. Speaker. And that's why I want to have that conversation with this gentleman, beyond just regulations. I said, these ones have just given us an opportunity to talk. Otherwise, they are useless. This one is already passed. But there are important things about that program that we want to know, Mr. Speaker. I want to see the young people that are benefiting, those that are supplying door hinges or have been trained in our TVET institutions. Because I listened and I said these things on the campaign trail when we were pitching for housing during the 2022 campaign season. And we said, oh, we will build houses, then you young people will be suppliers of the door frames, and another one will supply the locks, Those things have to be reality for them to make sense. Otherwise, how will I face my constituents? Mr. Speaker, I have very serious questions about this program, because I understand that it is important, it is transformational, it is necessary. Therefore, I cannot give excuse to those that are implementing it after I have gone through such a difficult time. First of all, paying for it. Secondly, passing the law on the floor of this House. Therefore, I want to ask, Mr. Speaker, because Mofire has no opportunity anymore. His report has been bypassed by time. But we have a committee on housing and transport in this House. That because we don't have the opportunity to further interact with these people, with these regulations, Mr. Speaker, can we at least as a House be provided with an opportunity to question the executive on the implementation, so that the people that have serious questions and doubt about including the size, their cultural sensitivities. Senator Sifuna has said that the people he represents, where he comes from, they want to live in the house with the chicken. Therefore, can you make that part of the provision? Don't build them houses so small, Mr. Speaker, that they will not fit together with their chicken. I don't know whether Catherine Buba also has a specific request. She'll tell you that you need to make the windows slightly larger, so that when she cooks omena, it does not kill her like tear gas. So they are very, very important. I don't want to lose my trail of thought, Mr. Speaker. But the point that I'm making is that I don't see Senator Ed in the House. I think maybe he traveled or something. But they are members of Transport and Housing. You will have failed this House. You will have failed this House if you do not provide us with an opportunity to sit down with CS Alice Wahome, PS Hinga. Yes, that's why I wanted her to come here, because as a Senate, a House that represents the interests of counties, we want to have a conversation with them on the implementation of this program. What is the nexus, the connection even with county government? There are places where we are told county governors are taking time to release. We must take into place their consideration. Some of them are saying, I have better plans to do other than affordable housing in the place where you want to place it. Therefore, what is a place of interaction between a county government and the department, the board that we have set in place to run? Therefore, Mr. Speaker, I want to request our colleagues, I don't know if there is any member of the Transport and Housing Committee, that let us not derelict our responsibility. We are representatives of the people, whether you're on the majority or on the minority side, whether you supported or you did not support this law. This is the reality of a country. Come, let us sit down with these people and ask them the difficult questions that are being raised, so that as they leave this House, they know the people of Kenya are asking certain questions. Just like we have issues to do with other nationally rallied programs. Like, you know, I challenged our colleagues the time that there was a report, the audit report on the implementation of SHA came out. And the, what was it called? The contractual obligations that had been put into that contract. I challenged Senator Mandago and I said, I have seen a report from the Auditor General on how, I don't know, the cost of this program. People keep quoting all manner of figures. And you can't blame us. We are a country that is sensational by nature. We love hearing huge figures. 100 billion, I don't know what amount. Can you lead us into a better conversation so that at least, at the very least, representatives of the people like senators, Mr. Speaker, don't quote information from newspaper articles. But the reason we end up doing that is because we never get the opportunity to meet with the implementers of policy and ask them some of these questions. Therefore, Senator Mofaya have done their bit. At least they brought an opportunity for us to know that there were regulations that we passed without knowing. That was important. But now that that opportunity is lost, can you give us the chance?
Leader, is it that regulations were passed without knowing, or by operation of law, they became law because of timelines? It could not then have been that you passed without knowing.
I don't know which is which, Mr. Speaker. All I know is that the regulations are operational and they have been passed by both houses. At least in the National Assembly, I saw the debate going on, and I heard members speak about it. I don't know what you, Mofaya, were doing until today on the 25th, we are debating regulations which, by operation of the law, our own law that we passed as a Senate, stand approved. I don't mind being informed.
Proceed, Senator Mofaya, to inform the Leader of Majority. Okay. Use the dispatch desk.
I think there is some defect. I think Honorable Speaker, Majority Leader is very right. You know, this is just a matter of procedure. It's a matter of format. We aim to break this and an issue that is attracting a national debate, and it's a matter that would have skipped the debate from the House, and it's important that we had to bring it here. Though we had looked at the timelines and those things have already been passed, and without maybe it's important for us as a matter of a formality to bring those regulations here so that you can even capture the mind of Senator Sifuna, who has brought very pertinent issues. So I think it's very deliberate, Honorable Speaker, that those regulations have been brought here. We have a lot of penetrations from quite a number of debaters.
Mofaya, take your seat.
What is
your
the
point of order, Senator Sifuna?
Speaker, it is wholly offensive. Wholly offensive. We have a committee of this House that schedules business. I used to sit in that committee for 2 sessions, for 2 years. I am sure the majority leader still sits there. The majority whip still sits there. All these leaders on both sides of the House still sit in that committee. Honorable Speaker, how fair is it? You are telling us that you've scheduled business. We are in the middle of debate. There is a a procedure that has to be followed. At the end of debate, you have to put a question. I need to vote. I need to vote. You've sat us here at 6 o'clock, ordinarily on a Thursday, Honorable Speaker. You know, Waziri wa Sherehe. I shouldn't be here. At 6, I stayed here because this is an important
Senator
matter.
Sifuna,
Therefore, the clarification we are seeking, Honorable Speaker, is this debate a debate in futility? Is this motion properly before this House? Now that we're in the middle of debate, you need to make a decision if indeed the regulations are passed by operation of law. And the good thing is that you are a lawyer. Stop the debate. Stop the
Take
debate.
your seat,
Because
Senator Sifuna. Yes, you've raised your concern.
but now that I've already spoken to it, I will insist on voting. Because
Take your seat.
it does-
Take your seat. Take your seat, Senator Sifuna. The opportunity I granted to Senator Mofaya was to inform the leader of majority as to why he brought the motion for debate today that deals with regulations which by operation of law have been operationalized or have become regulations. And so I believe that information was for the benefit of the leader of majority, but your concerns are taken by the chair. And appropriate communication will be made about it. Senator Majority Leader. Your mic is not working, Leader of Majority. Just use the dispatch.
And the commissioner at least is in the country today, Mr. Speaker. One of the 3 commissioners is in the House. At least can you make sure the mics are working? During my time as a commissioner, Mr. Speaker, I ensured the mics used to work. I don't know what happened to these ones that we got into office recently. Mr. Speaker, I was saying, Senator Sifuna...
I can confirm to you, Leader of Majority, that the Commissioner has just confirmed to me that yesterday the House Business Committee indeed confirmed that this will be worked on in the next recess session.
Yeah.
And therefore...
But what do we use between now and then? Because he knows the mistakes he has done.
Proceed,
Mr. Speaker,
Leader
I
of
was saying,
Majority.
Senator Sifuna's concerns are not illegitimate, Mr. Speaker. Because we must ask ourselves, why did you subject us to a debate of something that is already, that stands approved actually, Mr. Speaker? In fact, that's a question that the Secretariat that progressed this actually needs to answer. Because why? I believe in the other house. If it was in the National Assembly, things such as this never happened. We must move away from being stoic also as an institution and, do things better. This was completely unnecessary. But the chair has told us that the reason he brought the report was to catch our attention on this conversation. Okay, you have succeeded in doing that. I hope Senator Eddy and the team at Transport and the Housing Committee will at least help us answer the things and the concerns that colleagues have on the implementation of the housing project. Because as an avid campaigner of housing program, Mr. Speaker, and somebody who knows how that program can change lives of people that, one, in urban areas live in subhuman conditions, and for those of us that come from densely populated, rich agricultural zones, at least this program can provide us an opportunity to live as expected, where we live in concentrated places and leave part of our land to be used optimally for agricultural farming. Otherwise, Mr. Speaker, the small land in my village in Kericho that my grandfather left to us, by the time it gets to my children's children, it will not be useful anymore. At least if this program is properly implemented in my county, I can tell them, let's go and live in town, we leave the farm, we fill it up with the tea bushes, and it will take care of us. And the same can be said of so many other things. Therefore, Mr. Speaker, I look forward to that opportunity. I will be making that request even at SBC, that opportunity be provided for us so that we can ask the difficult questions in public interest. We can say the things we want to say in rallies, because that's politics anyway, there's no problem. But at least as an elected representative of a people, whether you're from majority or minority, there are things that you can share with the executive on programs that are important, such as this, that will better it. And that opportunity has to be presented. After that, whatever else we say in federal is just for commercial or political value. But at least here in Parliament, Mr. Speaker, we say things that can influence policy. I thank you.
Thank you, Leader of Majority. I have got a communication to make before I allow the next member to contribute to the motion. Honorable members, I would like to acknowledge the presence in the public gallery this afternoon of visiting students from Busia universities and College Students Association. The delegation consists of 12 students. In our usual tradition of receiving and welcoming visitors to Parliament, I extend a warm welcome to the delegation, and on behalf of the Senate and on my own behalf, wish them a fruitful visit. I thank you. And since the person who is to contribute next is Senator Okoiti Omtata, who comes from Busia, I will, before you contribute to the motion, give you under 1 minute to welcome the delegation, then contribute to the motion. Senator Omtata, you use the dispatch.
Mr. Speaker, sir, thank you for the opportunity, and I welcome the delegation from Busia Students Association. I was not aware of their presence, I was not informed, but I'm happy that they're here. I also want to inform them that we shall be having Senate Mashinani, so they should feel welcome to go back to Busia from the 6th of next month and air their views about what the Senate can help do for them. Otherwise, I wish them success in their studies, and I hope that they'll have a fruitful experience in that tour here. And next time, I request that they send me an alert if they're coming to visit the Senate, so that I can know they're coming to visit the Senate. I don't like being ambushed. But you are most welcome, and I wish you a very fruitful tour. Thank you. Mr. Speaker, sir, I'll begin where my brother, Senator Sifuna, left when he referred to chicken. It's not a light issue that he said. The word, one time a lawyer sage told me that the word ingoho has the word ingo inside that name. And I want majority speaker to understand. Ingoho has the first part is ingo, ho. When you see that bird, there's a home around there.
It is back, Senator Omtata. Proceed.
Yeah, that bird is a sign that the area is settled. So it was not an idle statement that Senator Sifuna made. It's a very, very important cultural. If there must be a chicken, otherwise it's not a home. That will just be a house, not a home. Now, I also would like to say that what the majority leader mentioned, that these houses are being built on public land. A very, very important condemnation of what is going on. We don't convert public land by building houses on it and selling them to private owners. If you want to private public land, there's a procedure for doing that. This affordable housing has no respect for any law. It's being done like we are in a vacuum. There are no laws in this country. The question of public land has been set aside for specific purposes. Right now we are having a crisis in Busia, whereby the Busia Agricultural Training Center has been invaded by the public. It is a affordable housing thing, and they're just building, even they're building over the ponds that had been put there by under climate change, the fish ponds, demonstration centers. So ATC was set aside to be a university in the long run. We had Sangalo in Bungoma. We had got what was called Weko, which is now Masinda Mudro University in Kakamega. And there was the ATC in Busia, which were designed to be universities in the long run. And if you look at each of them, they were allocated a lot of land. The ATC sits on 95 acres in Busia town. They are dumping these houses there with no care that that's public land alienated for a particular purpose, and they don't care. And then they want to sell these houses to private individuals, which means they are privatizing public land, they are destroying the plan of Busia, they have got no care about the future of this country. That's what the problem is. So conversion of public land to private land. Public land is defined in the Constitution, private land is defined in the Constitution, community land is defined in the Constitution. No individual can just by the whims of their minds say they are going to convert that land by selling those houses to individuals. When power changes, we shall recover those houses and surrender them to the public. Neither President William Ruto, the minister, or anybody has the capacity to sell private land to a private individual. So whoever dares buy those houses, you are throwing away your good money. We'll recover those houses and put the land back to the public. Or you carry your house away from that land. There'll be two options. You'll have to find a way of carrying that house. And remember, it's a story house. How will you carry your floor or your apartment? I warn Kenyans, don't touch those houses. Because when I take over, I'm going to recover them. In 2027, I'm going to recover them. And return the land back to the public. And when the government takes them over, we are going to quantify each pay slip. My brother has been mourning about his 30,000 shillings per month. We shall quantify that money and recover it from a consolidated fund and refund you and make those houses public property. So just support me for the presidency.
Next. Senator Koiti, I want to warn you that you
I'm
not
guided.
use the platform to campaign
I'm guided.
for your presidential ambitions.
I'm guided. The other thing, the other disregard for the law. Let us forget about public land. These houses, and not forget about public land, other than being built on public land, they are being built using money that has been collected from Kenyans as a levy, which makes that money public money. So in all essence, that is public property. We have got Article 227 of the Constitution, which requires that the disposal of public property must be done in a competitive manner, in an effective manner. The Public Procurement Act also does that. Where does it come that now we are using public money to make grants? When did the government become a grant maker? We already have an emergency fund that is in the treasury. Why are we becoming grant makers? And if you look at the Kenyan Constitution, it's a clearly civic republican charter with the rights to property and pursuit of the common good and use of public office for service. Protection of private property. You cannot take Senator Sifuna's 30,000 shillings per month and use it to build a house for somebody else. That's what the Constitution condemns in Article 40 as arbitrary deprivation of Senator Sifuna's interest in his money. There was a question of timelines. And this is the danger of making unconstitutional law. Article 94, clauses 5 and 6 of the Constitution say that only Parliament has the power to make law. And Parliament can delegate that power. Now, it cannot be said that in delegating the power, if Parliament fails to validate a statutory instrument within 15 days, the statutory instrument becomes law automatically. The ideal is that the statutory instrument should lapse if Parliament has not approved. There's a requirement that Parliament must protect the public, not by avoiding, not by omission, but by commission. Parliament must look at statutory instruments. This idea that if you don't look at them, they lapse, they become law automatically, is not constitutional. It violates Article 95, clauses 5 and 6. So, that law that was passed was wrong. As far as I'm concerned, by the act of the Constitution, these regulations lapsed. They did not become law. Secondly, we cannot go to the issue of look at the Affordable Housing Act as the primary act on making of statutory instruments. The primary act is the Statutory Instruments Act. And Section 15(2) gives 28 days, not 15 days. So the Statutory Instruments Act should trump that timeline that was smuggled into the Affordable Housing Act so that purportedly these things could become law. Now that my brother Wamatinga would like also to speak and I see time is running, let me be charitable and stop my submissions there so that my brother can also contribute. Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker. No, I don't say he's the next. He would also like to speak. So if I move away earlier, the next one moves away earlier, it will create room for him to speak. But I think I've massacred the thing with my skeletal submissions. And finally, I oppose the submissions, the report, and I oppose the regulations, and I wait to vote them out. And I agree with Senator Sifuna that since we have been burdened with having to contribute, we must vote on them. Thank you, Mr. Speaker, sir.
Very well. For the benefit of Senator Omtata, it is the chair who actually permits members to speak. Senator, take your seat. Take your seat, Senator Omtata. Senator Wamatinga Wahome.
Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker, sir. Indeed, I came to your flash dashboard and I checked, and I went to talk to my colleague to allow me to say something. Mr. Speaker, a lot of technicalities have been spoken about this affordable housing. As I stand up, Mr. Speaker, I want to beg my colleagues to look at the history of this country way back in 1963, and I want to draw a parallel of where Kenya was, where Singapore was, and Malaysia. Mr. Speaker, in 1963, Malaysia was one big slum. They introduced the Housing Act around the same time that we did in the pre-colonial era, 1953, and went ahead in 1963 to ratify the same. South Korea and Singapore were far much in the same position where Kenya was. Their GDP, Mr. Speaker, were comparable. However, Mr. Speaker, due to the implementation of some of the laws that Kenya ignored, among them being the affordable housing, Malaysia was able to transform what used to be a slum into one of the most modern cities in the world today. Mr. Speaker, the same can be said of South Korea, the same can be said of Singapore. Where we got it wrong, Mr. Speaker, way back in 1953, in Article 1710, we had envisaged a situation where we will introduce housing models that will allow people to live in kind of one area and farm in the other areas. Mr. Speaker, we missed the point when we allowed the subdivision of land. We missed the point when we allowed urbanization uncontrolled. And we missed the point when we did not provide for housing for the low-income population in Kenya. And this is why, Mr. Speaker, today we have over 7 million Kenyans living in informal settlements. Mr. Speaker, most of the contributors, my colleagues who contributed to this motion, may not have the advantage that I have as a contractor because I've worked in very many informal settlements. Mr. Speaker, it is very appalling and very disheartening to see that our fellow Kenyans are living in subhuman conditions in informal settlements and going by their level of income, they will never, using their own dynamic, get out of them. It is the high time, Mr. Speaker, and we must call it the way it is. If we do not address the issue of housing, especially in urban settlement, then we'll get more and more Kenyans living in the informal settlements. Mr. Speaker, we must, as leaders of this country, call the issues as they are. We know that Kenya is a signatory to the Sustainable Development Goals, and one of the requirements is that every Kenyan must have access to decent housing with sanitation, and most importantly, Mr. Speaker, decent in the sense that they'll not be living in riparian area. This can only be achieved, Mr. Speaker, if we have a deliberate attempt by the government, concerted effort by we the taxpayers to contribute into the kitty, because the only business that the government does is to coordinate that kitty that in terms of levy to ensure that our people can get housing. Therefore, Mr. Speaker, it is imperative that we as leaders say, yes, we have a problem that has persisted for the last 62 years, and I would want to commend the Kenya Kwanza government, because we know in every successful government, it has committed herself to ensuring that there is a provision of affordable housing. None of them had, and none of them wanted to take this unpopular decision of introducing this housing levy. It is unpopular, Mr. Speaker, but the right decision. And time has come, Mr. Speaker, when we as leaders must not shy away from making decisions just because they are unpopular to please our voters. It cannot be the business of politicians to fight for positions, get elected, but only start fighting to be re-elected again. I want to commend the president, and that has been said even in the meeting going on in New York. He has taken it upon himself to ensure that he delivers Kenya's mandate to become one of the developed countries, but that cannot happen if over 7 million Kenyans are living in informal settlement. Mr. Speaker, sir, affordable housing, look at it from whichever way you want to look at it. But it cannot be people living in Mathare, in Mukuru kwa Ruben, people living in Nyeri Majengo. They cannot afford to buy the prime property there to build their own houses. It must therefore be a common and a collective responsibility of all of us to ensure that we move those people from those slum shackles into houses. Mr. Speaker, I want to believe that this is the high time that we face it and say it the way it is. We have missed the opportunity. This government, more so because it's a broad-based government, has taken a paradigm shift in the way things are done, and therefore we can see that people will start getting housing. To the issue that has been addressed by some of our colleagues, Mr. Speaker, the law of supply and demand is very simple. If we construct many houses for the upper class and there's nobody to take them, then the lower class will have an opportunity to access better houses at a lower rate. That is simply the law of supply and demand. But also having said that, Mr. Speaker, it is the high time that we realize that the population in Kenya is growing, the land mass of Kenya is not expanding, and therefore we must divorce ourselves from the traditional way of looking at land and see it not as a renewable resource, but as a diminishing resource, and therefore we reduce on horizontal and go the vertical. Mr. Speaker, I would want to urge my colleagues, as much as this report has come a bit too late, it gives us a golden opportunity to explore the possibility of how we'll operationalize, but most importantly, on how we'll ensure that many Kenyans access the affordable housing, because the future generations are looking upon us to ensure that we leave them in a better place than we found ourselves in. Mr. Speaker, as I wind up, I want to commend the chair for giving us an opportunity to discuss on this report, and most importantly, reflect on the things that we as a country can benefit if we ensure that the operationalization of the regulations, the optimization, and also most importantly maybe the ratification of some of these regulations to ensure that every Kenyan will have an opportunity to own a home, every Kenyan will have a chance of having somewhere he or she can call home. This, Mr. Speaker, sir, and has been said, by 2050, most of the Kenyans will be living in urban center. Then that begs the question, what must we do today to avert the danger that will come of many people joining the informal settlements, and that can only be answered through the housing, the affordable housing program. Mr. Speaker, as I wind up, I want to thank His Excellency the President, because we know four of his predecessors were not able to make this hard decision, but he has taken the bull by its horn. I'm a proud Kenyan for contributing to the housing levy, because I want also to be accounted among those who played an active role in ensuring that Kenyans get affordable housing, decent, and that we start fighting development of slums and informal settlements moving forward. Mr. Speaker, sir, I support, and I take this opportunity to say this is the way that we need to go, Mr. Speaker, and indeed, every senator sitting here, we must take the opportunity to ensure that we sell this to our people, and to ensure that when we go back home, we tell people that, yes, these affordable housing are not for the rich people, but those who cannot afford. What we need to look at is the model of how do we go about financing them, the model of how do we go about making sure that they are evenly distributed among all the communities, in all the towns in Kenya, but most importantly, even among the Gen Zs and the young generation of this country who cannot be able to afford to pay the deposits. Looking at the financing model, Mr. Speaker, if we get that one right, then this will be a golden opportunity to change the course of this country, and this will be a golden opportunity to ensure that each and every Kenyan has a place to call home. Mr. Speaker, my county is benefiting from this. Various institutions, including institutions of higher learning, are getting hostels, a very good thing. We were just there, I think 3 days ago in Kieni East. And I want to encourage my leadership in Nyeri County, we lobby for more and more of this affordable housing, because Nyeri is one of those counties that has a lot of colonial villages where people live in very, very small properties. Mr. Speaker, with affordable housing, then we'll be able to ensure that everybody has a place, and the land that will be saved can be used for agricultural production. I like what my majority leader said. In places where land is of high value, putting high-rise buildings will ensure that we save our land for agricultural production, and most importantly, it may be even for industrial development. This is how many countries in Europe have afforded to move their population from slums into places that where you can have controlled development. Mr. Speaker, sir, for those of us who've traveled a lot, we know when you put people in one settlement, then you're able to provide them with sewage system, you're able to provide them with schools, you're able to provide them with other social amenities that when people are widely distributed, they cannot be able to. And this is a thing that we must look into moving forward as a country if we want to indeed move Kenya from where we are today to the next generation, and to make sure that we are aligned to the SDGs of 2030. By 2050, Mr. Speaker, some of us might not even be around to see, but I want to say today, the things that we are doing, the decisions that we are making today will affect the future generations in another 30 years to come, and therefore, it is imperative, away from simple politics, it is imperative we look at the development that we'll bring and how it is going to affect our next generation, and most importantly, how we will see that it will change our social status from a developing to a developed country, and that cannot happen if we have over 7 million Kenyans upwards living in informal settlement. Mr. Speaker, this is something that we must look into. We have a political obligation, we have a moral responsibility, and most importantly, we have a president who is willing to see us walk this journey. Let us support him so that we can deliver this country from the underdevelopment that it has suffered because the leadership was not prepared to make the right decision. Now we have a president prepared to make the right decision. We, as political class, need to support him so that we can change Kenya, and the change begins here, and the change begins today. Mr. Speaker, I want to support because it's the right thing to do.
Thank you, Senator Wamatinga. Now, Senator Catherine Muma.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker, for the opportunity to speak to these regulations. Mr. Speaker, I begin with a dilemma that we must resolve as a House. Mr. Speaker, the committee in its report has clearly indicated that the executive did not comply with the law. It actually did not submit these regulations within the statutory timelines that were required to be submitted. So I ask myself, what is the consequence of this action? What is the consequence of regulations being submitted and procedurally to the House, not in compliance with the law? And once we receive those procedures, those regulations, do we have, as a House, the latitude or the permission to actually receive and process those laws, those regulations? Mr. Speaker, this is a question that we must answer as a House. Once the regulations came, Mr. Speaker, there is another timeline, a timeline within which the committee was supposed to process this law. Mr. Speaker, again, that was breached. Mr. Speaker, I believe even as we move forward, and I want to make it clear that affordable housing and social housing is one of the things we must embrace as a country. And it's one of the most important things that is happening right now because it has been operationalized in Kenya. It is benefiting some, and there are issues from the little conversation that we've had from our colleagues. There are issues which we need to converse, which we need to debate as leaders to guide the executive to ensure, yes, this is a good program, but we think this aspect of it is not good. This aspect of it needs to be strengthened. This social housing issue needs to be strengthened, and so on.
Senator Catherine Muma, fortunately it's 6:30 p.m., but when the House resumes, you will have a balance of 17